The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I am the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. Today's webinar is on chapter goals for leadership teams. So what we're going to do today is take a look at the goals functionality within BNI Connect, show you how to enter goals in BNI Connect for your upcoming 6-month terms or 1-year terms, go through what all of the different fields mean and what you can do with these chapter goals. The content of this webinar is scheduled for approximately 30 minutes, but we'll also have plenty of time for questions and answers, and I'm always happy to stay on these webinars until everybody's questions are answered. This webinar is being recorded. It will be made available afterwards on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to join us there, it is youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, and we have all of our recorded webinars up here on this website. Again, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, and you can see plenty of videos here that have been previously recorded on all sorts of topics, from the social media side of BNI Connect to filling out your member profile, to the online slips program, and even previous recorded webinars for the chapter goals for leadership teams. Also, please join us if you can on facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. We do webinar reminders and announcements, as well as tips and tricks and all sorts of things on our Facebook channel as well. But let's get started on chapter goals. The goals functionality within BNI Connect is a great function for being able to really figure out where you want to go with your chapter as a leadership team and to enter those goals into the system, which will help to keep you on track. The goals then will, as you're putting in POMS reports throughout the year, will give you your actual results based on what your goals are as well. The place to access this information is under the operations menu. There's actually 2 places to access it. If you've customized your shortcut links through the chapter menu, you would find it in here. Otherwise, the traditional way to go in is under Operations, Chapter, and then we're going to go to the Manage Goals. Now, as a leadership team member, meaning a president, a vice president, or secretary-treasurer, you would have access to this option here that says Enter Chapter Goals. Now, members of your chapter can also access the view screen of these goals. So by default, most members in BNI Connect will see this View Chapter Goals option. Again, if you'd like to enter the goals, if you'd like to update them, change them, modify them, the place to do that is through the Enter Chapter Goals function. If you'd just like to go back and review them, that would be done through the View Chapter Goals. Now, I'm in our test system right now, so I don't mess up anybody's live data. I'm in our Antarctica region, in our Burr chapter up there. But what I'm going to do is let's go in and take a look at entering the chapter goals. Now, when I click on Enter Chapter Goals, the first screen that we'll see here is a place where we can choose which 6-month time frame we'd like to enter goals for. Now, the 6-month time frame is going to, by default, bring you to the next recognized 6-month time frame in BNI. So right now, that next 6-month time frame is April 1st through September 30th. So it's pulling up that date of April 2013. Now, you can go through and choose any time period you'd like to. It doesn't have to start on April or October. You can choose February if you'd like it, but it will only show 6 months worth of goals at a time. So again, I can go back if I'd like to, and let's say that I wanted to review the last 6 months of goals. I could do that by just choosing, let's say, November of 2012 to start with, or October of 2012 to start with, and choose Done. Now, the next 2 things that we see here, these will remain static throughout the whole goal periods that you are entering data for. And the first one is a long-term vision, and the second one is a personalized mission statement for your chapter. So a long-term vision is just stating out loud where you'd like to be. What is that long-term vision for your chapter? So here in the Antarctica Shiver region for the Burr chapter, we've decided as a leadership team that we would like to focus to become the largest chapter in all of Antarctica. So that is our long-term vision for this chapter. Obviously, this is something that you can discuss as a leadership team or discuss this with your chapter's director consultant and come up with a good vision for your chapter. Now, the mission statement is more, how are you going to achieve that vision? What are going to be the founding principles of achieving that long-term vision? Here in the Burr chapter in Antarctica, we've decided that we're going to help members increase their business through a structured, positive, and professional word-of-mouth program that enables them to develop long-term, meaningful relationships with quality business professionals and create positive community goodwill. So that would be our mission statement, and this is going to carry us through our term. If you're just coming into the leadership team this April, some regions switch over in April, some switch over in October, but if you're coming into this new leadership team or you need to modify this, you can change those at any time. Now, once I click go, the screen is going to change and it's going to show us the 6 months worth of goals for the period that we chose. Now, I chose to show October 2012 as the start date for that 6-month period. So when I click go, what we'll see here is that it's brought out our goals for that 6-month period of time. We can see October, November, December, January, February, and March, which corresponds to that 6-month period of a leadership team term. Now, looking at this, this is, for all intents and purposes, a grid or a spreadsheet. And what we see here is the monthly goals. And as we see the blue sections, the subsections, those are all the chapter success drivers. So all of the things that we're tracking as part of our goals management. So those success drivers are the attendance percentage, the total number of one-to-ones, the CEUs or chapter education units, number of visitors, new memberships, total number of members in the chapter, number of referrals, and thank you for closed business. Now, for each of these different success drivers, what we'll see is the ability to put in a goal, and then we'll see 2 mechanisms. So the goal is fairly obvious. That's the goal that you'd like for that success driver. What the mechanisms are how are you going to achieve those goals? BNI as a system has tons of different ideas and suggestions for how you could possibly achieve that particular goal to attain that success driver. And that's what these are for, to help you plan out the next 6 months worth of activity in your chapter. So what we can see here, I've already filled out some of these, but before we get into putting in the actual goals for your chapter, what we definitely want to look at is there's 2 different ways to define your goals when you're setting this up. You can either do your goals based on a whole chapter number or a per member number. And there's a big difference in the way that it's calculated as we're going through and entering the goals. Now, for the whole system, you can only choose one or the other. So whether you choose for your whole chapter or whether you choose per member, it's going to apply those to all of the goals during all of the time period. So that's important because you can't switch halfway through, or per goal, you can't switch or choose one for one goal and one for the other. It is a universal choice whether or not you choose to do your number entry based on the whole chapter or whether you do this based on per member. So I've chosen to do these goals as a whole chapter number. So where that's going to affect it mostly is anything that you turn a slip in for example, like the total number of one-to-ones. So what I'm doing is I'm saying how many one-to-ones would I like to enter, achieve for the whole chapter in a given month. If I chose per member, obviously that number is going to be much smaller. Let's take a look at this first one. Now, attendance percentage. Attendance percentage, fairly obvious. How many people are showing up to your chapter on a weekly basis? A good goal to shoot for is 100%, obviously, but if you're having attendance issues, you may need to work up to that 100% goal. Now, the goal you just would enter in for either 1 month at a time, or if you'd like to go through and enter attendance percentage all the way through this 6 months. We can see in this chapter, we started off in October with a goal of 95%, then we went to 96%, then we went to 100%, back down to 85%. Again, these goals are at your discretion. Good person to work with, again, is your chapter director consultant to find out what good goals might be for your chapter. Now, as I said, the mechanisms are different things that you can do, and there are tons of ideas for what you could do with these. Now, things that might help with attendance percentage, making sure that the membership committee is sending out the control letters on a monthly basis. Also, maybe doing educational moments on the importance of showing up to the meeting, or maybe on visibility, credibility, and profitability. Now, you don't have to come up with these all by yourself. One of the things that you'll see up here in the upper right-hand corner is a button called the Chapter Goal Guide. And what this will do is it can give you some ideas for mechanisms that you can use for achieving these chapter success drivers. If I click on this Chapter Goal Guide here, what we'll see here is some possible mechanisms for attendance. So, for example, we have the education on importance of why from the educational coordinator and membership committee and president. Sending out the control letters, acknowledging people for perfect attendance, playing the BNI game, follow-up phone calls. All of these are ideas for how to achieve that goal. You can, if you'd like to, you can highlight them and copy them and paste them in, or you could just type them right into the section. Or again, you can come up with your own as well. So the ones I've chosen here are control letters and educational moments. In November, we were going to do the BNI game, and we're going to do a Bring Your Substitute game. And again, recognition and attendance, and a substitute list. So those were things that this chapter had planned in order to increase their attendance. Let's take a look at the next goal mechanism. Now, this success driver here is called total number of one-to-ones. Now, again, this one I'm calculating on the whole chapter. So this is the number that when I look at the summary POMS report, I want this number to be at the bottom of the summary POMS report for one-to-ones for the whole chapter. And you can see I chose a number here of 45 one-to-ones. Now, this is a pretty small chapter. The Burr chapter in Antarctica only has about 10 people in it. So what I was really shooting for was trying to get people up to approximately one-to-one per week. So if everybody was doing one-to-one per week, I would like to get approximately 40 to 50 one-to-ones per month for the whole chapter. So obviously, if this number was a per member number, that number would be much smaller. So if the per member number, it might be something like 4, if I was hoping that every member would do one-to-one per week. And we put in a couple of mechanisms for how we were going to achieve those goals. And we're going to do that through the BNI game. And we're going to do a meeting stimulant during the chapter where we do somebody else's 60-second presentation that week, which should foster some one-to-ones. Again, the chapter goal guide, if we were to pull up the chapter goal guide for one-to-ones, we can see that there's a number of ideas here as well. So an education on the importance of the gains, use of dance cards, playing the BNI game, implementing the mentoring program is another great way to get one-to-ones going in a chapter. The next chapter success driver is CEUs, or chapter education units. And chapter education units, again, I've chosen for the whole chapter. So in our chapter, we are hoping that every member will do at least one-to-one CEU per week. So I'm going to choose similar goals for chapter education units as I do for the number of one-to-ones, since we are looking for those to be equal. So maybe in November, I'd like them to have 45 one-to-ones, maybe increase that to 50, and then maybe 55. So I'm looking to keep these in line with the one-to-ones. And what are some good mechanisms for driving CEUs. Well, of course, I can go back and I can check my chapter goal guide here. So I'm going to scroll down to the CEUs section here, and maybe an educational moment of the use of the CEU tracking slip. So I'm just going to copy this one. I'm going to right-click and choose copy. I'm going to paste this mechanism right into the mechanism screen here. And what might be another mechanism that we could use for increasing CEUs in the chapters? Well, maybe an educational moment on how to access BNIpodcast.com. And again, we can come up with additional mechanisms for achieving our goals throughout the year. Now, once in a while, this form does take quite some time to fill out. So if you're sitting there, maybe you're having a leadership team meeting during the week and you're filling these out and having discussions in between, you may want to make sure that you click the Save button at the bottom of the screen every once in a while. Clicking the Save button will allow a draft copy of this to be saved. You notice it flashed saved successfully at the bottom of my screen here. So every once in a while, do press that Save button. BNI Connect does have a 35-minute security timeout. So if you walk away from the computer for 35 minutes or more, you haven't moved your mouse on any BNI screens or you haven't entered any data, it will log you out of the system. So especially if you're in the middle of filling out all of your goals, please do make sure that every once in a while, just like with a Word document, you want to hit this Save button at the bottom of the screen. It'll ask you, are you sure? And again, you'll see the Saved Successfully flash at the bottom of the screen. So our next mechanism here, or our next success driver here is for visitors. And visitors are the lifeblood of any chapter. So what we're looking to do is to increase the number of visitors. Now, our goal in our chapter is to have every member bring at least one visitor per month. So if we have 12 members in this chapter currently, a good goal for visitors might be, well, let's say 12 visitors per month. So I'm going to start out a little bit low because we're going to have to work up to that. So maybe I'm going to do 8 visitors for the first month. I'm going to try to get that up to 10 visitors, and then within a couple of months, I'm going to bring that up to 12 visitors. And what are some good mechanisms for increasing the number of visitors? So let's consult our chapter goal guide again here. So I'm going to click on the chapter goal guide. I'm going to scroll down to visitors per month, and we can see that there's a ton of different ideas here for visitors. So obviously, number of educational moments that we can use, the importance of visitors, identifying and inviting visitors, and education around power teams. So I'm going to choose this one because I like the education around power teams. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to put this in as our first mechanism for the month of October. And perhaps another one is to make sure that our growth coordinator is active in the chapter. And possibly another mechanism for this month might be if we're running a BNI game during some of this time, you may want to make sure that you have that mechanism listed here as well, since you will be actively participating in that at that time, and it could apply to multiple different success drivers. Now, what's the next one here on the list? And that is new memberships. So new memberships, there's always going to be attrition in every chapter with people that leave the chapter for one reason or another. So we always want to be bringing in and growing our chapter. Now, goals for new members. Most people have said over the years that I've heard that most chapters have an attrition rate of approximately 12 members per year. So at least we would want to be getting in 1 to 2 new members on a monthly basis. And obviously, if you're looking to grow your chapter, it might have to be a larger number than that. So I'm going to start this off with, we're going to shoot for 1 new member in this month, and we're going to shoot for 2 new members in this month. And let's bring this up to 3 new members in the month of December. And again, you can bring this through the rest of your goals. Consulting my chapter goal guide, I'm going to take a look at what some mechanisms are for bringing in new members. So we could have visitor hosts run a proper visitor orientation after the meeting. I think that is a very powerful one, making sure we're using the visitor orientation program. So I'm going to put in that in October, we're going to fully implement our visitor orientation program. Perhaps another one might be to educate on what a good visitor is, or the difference between a visitor and a guest. And again, in this month, we're going to be running the BNI game, so I want to make sure I have this in as one of my mechanisms here, because that can also help to spark new memberships. Okay, let's take a look at number of members in the chapter, and this is just the total. So this chapter right now has a total of about 12 people in it. So let's say this month we're going to look to get to 13, and then maybe by the next month we're going to look to get to 15. And again, because I'm hoping to also get 2 new memberships that month. And then let's get this chapter up to 18, and maybe through the rest of the year we can watch that steady progress of the growth of the chapter. Going back to my goal guide, let's take a look at some mechanisms for number of members in chapter. And one suggestion here is to execute effectively on visitors per month and memberships per month. And again, this might be a way to do educational moments on the importance of growing a chapter. So maybe an educational moment on growing the chapter. Maybe we can do a workshop on power teams and how important power teams are with the total number of members in the chapter. And there's plenty of other ideas that we can put in for other mechanisms. Now I'm going to go ahead and save this again just to make sure that all this information has populated the goals guide. All right, so going down, we now have number of referrals. So these are referrals given that we are tracking here, so number of referrals given for the whole chapter. So we're looking to, right now, 80 referrals on a monthly basis, so we're hoping that all of our members provide 1 to 2 referrals per week. And what are some good ways to increase the number of referrals per week? One great way is always to make sure that people are doing plenty of one-to-ones. So we're going to track one-to-ones. And let's come up with some other ideas by going to our chapter goal guide again. And through the chapter goal guide, we can see that there are plenty of ideas here for number of referrals per month. We're already going to be playing the BNI game in November, but perhaps handing out the VP reports to members on a monthly or weekly basis, which we can now access directly through BNI Connect. So possibly teaching people how to access the VP report or the summary POMS report in BNI Connect. Education on relationship building skills, maybe encouraging people to attend an advanced training. So again, we're going to be playing the BNI game in this month, and of course we can come up with other mechanisms. And finally, we have the thank you for closed business generated, and we can come up with our goals for this. So if you're looking to be $1 million chapter, for example, you might need to make sure you have goals of $750,000, $800,000 or more in closed business per month. And again, we were looking to be $1 million chapter, so we might need to start a little lower here. Maybe we're going to start out at $60,000, and we're going to, or $600,000. I'm sorry, $60,000, 60, 1, 2, 3, and then maybe we're going to bring that up to $70,000 in this month, and up to $75,000 in this month. Again, what are some good mechanisms for achieving that? Educating people on the proper use of thank you for closed business, so an educational moment on thank you for closed business. And again, we're going to be doing the BNI game in this month. And we can consult our chapter goal guide for additional means of revenue generated. So again, implementing a referral thank you program, posting your revenues generated on a weekly or monthly basis is another great way of increasing that. So let's save this again and click OK. So now that these are saved, we can go back and view our chapter goals. So I'm going to click the back button here and click it again. And this will bring us back to our operations menu from before. Now again, this is something that members should have access to. So if you have members in your chapter that would like to take a look at the chapter goals, you would go into Manage Goals and then View Chapter Goals. We're going to pick our 6-month time period. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go back and choose for last year here. And click Done and click View. And this is very similar to the entry form in that it's laid out the same way, but it's just showing the data that we entered. Now what we'll see is we have our long-term vision. We have our mission statement up at the top, and that will always be the same. What's different now is that you'll see that the actuals have started to be filled in. So unfortunately, we don't enter a lot of POMS report up here in the Antarctica section, but we did at least for a couple of months, and we'll see that we had a goal of 95% attendance, and we actually had a 96% attendance based on the POMS reports that were entered that month. We were looking to do 45 one-to-ones, but we actually only achieved 2 one-to-ones that month. We were looking for 45 CEUs, but we actually only achieved 1. We were looking to have 8 visitors, but we only had 1. We had 0 new memberships that month, but we were looking for 1. We had 13 people in the chapter, and we achieved more than that goal with 28. Number of referrals, we were looking for 80, and we only passed 2. We were looking for $60,000 in closed business, but we only got $2,567. So this is a way where you can follow up with your goals, and month by month, as the POMS reports are closed, we will see that the actuals will be filled in on a month-to-month basis. And of course, this report, if you're looking to get this report out to your chapters, you can export this report into an Excel spreadsheet, so you can have full formatting control over it. If you'd like to color code rows or anything else like that, my suggestion is to export that to Excel. Or you can also print this report out and either print it to a PDF file or print it to a paper file in order to pass these out in your chapter. And as if I know that we have a couple of director consultants on the call with us today, as well as a few executive directors on the call, you can also monitor these goals for all of the chapters within your region through the regional report. That's under Reports and Region. And under the regional office reports, there is a chapter goals program report where you can view the goals for a time period for any one or all of the regions within your area. And we can see a condensed format of the goals for the Burr chapter. And if additional chapters had entered goals in our Antarctica region, we would see those there as well. So that brings us to the bottom of the hour here. The Chapter Goals program is something that is very easy to enter, very easy to follow through and track the progress of. The hardest part is making sure that you get together with your leadership team, sitting down, discussing what your goals are, and then following through with those goals throughout the year. At this point, if there is anybody that needs to leave right away at the bottom of the hour, I would like to thank you for your time today. As I said, this webinar was recorded. It is being recorded. It will be made available up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. Also, grab us on Facebook. Also, all of this is documented within our support site. So if you're looking to go back and get more information on this, if you click on the little question mark within BNI Connect up here in the upper right-hand corner, this will take you to our support site. You'll see the listed upcoming webinars here, but if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see a section that says Trainings. And within here, under the Chapter Operations menu, you will see some walkthroughs and guides for entering chapter goals, for example. And you can see the step-by-step process on how to do that. You'll also see on our training section a condensed version of all of the webinars on a month-by-month basis. So you can always go here, click on the month, and you will see all of the webinars with quick links to view any of those webinars there. So do we have any questions? I don't see any questions right now in the questions panel, but if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those questions now. Okay, well, if there are no questions, again, I'd like to thank everybody for being here. If you found this webinar helpful, a good referral for me is to please let your chapter members know about these upcoming webinars. So our next webinar will be held. Let's go back here. Our very next webinar is on the online slips and referral tracking program. That will be on March 21st, so that is on Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So if there's any questions about how to enter online slips, how to use the referral tracking sheet, please do have them join us on March 21st at 1 p.m. Pacific or 4 p.m. Eastern. We do have one question here. Is there a limit to the number of members for a chapter? No, there's no limit to the number of members for a chapter in the system. So we do have some chapters out there that are 70 and 80 members. I know that there's a few in the Delaware Valley region that are 70 plus members, as well as Colorado has a few chapters that are over 70 members. So hopefully that answered your question, Vineet. Another question, participating in a webinar, does it give me credit for having taken a training? For that question, I do need to refer you back to your regional office. Please talk with your chapter director consultant or your executive director. Officially on the BNI slip, so if we were entering a CEU slip online here for CEUs, there isn't officially a place on the CEU slip for webinars. What some regions do is they use one of the 1 credit CEUs here for that, but again, that varies region by region. So if you could please speak with your chapter director consultant or executive director on exactly how they'd like you to track CEUs for webinars in your region. So hopefully that helps with your second question. Okay. Do we have any other questions? Be happy to answer any other questions about this or anything else in BNI Connect. Excellent. So again, thank you everybody for your time today. I do appreciate you being here. Please join us on a future webinar. Also join us, remember, bniconnect.com, facebook.com/BNI Connect Global, and youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. So thank you very much, everybody. Happy connecting and have a wonderful day.